He was returned twice, called too wild, too unpredictable, too much. He spent 73 days in a shelter watching families walk past without stopping, and then a 13-year-old girl sat down on a cold floor, not reaching for him, not calling his name, just sitting there every single night for 12 days straight. On day 12, Biscuit made his choice, and nothing in that house was ever the same again. He was returned twice. The first family said he was too loud. The second family lasted 6 days and said he was too much, too wild, too dramatic, too everything. The shelter volunteers had started calling him the Diva in Cage 7. Not mean, just honest. Because Biscuit, a 16-pound Maine Coon with a mane like a small lion and the personal boundaries of a medieval king, had opinions about everything and was not shy about sharing them. He chirped at the ceiling. He yowled at the vacuum cleaner. He knocked over a full water bottle every single morning at exactly 6:14 a.m. Not by accident, with intent, like he was setting an alarm for the entire building. In 73 days at the Maplewood Animal Rescue, he had knocked over 11 water bottles, rearranged 4 intake forms, and dramatically collapsed onto his side at least once per visiting hour, as if performing the final act of a very personal tragedy. Nobody took him home. Nora was 13 years old when her dad, Tom, suggested they visit the shelter. Not to adopt, just to look. That's always how it starts, isn't it? Just to look. Tom worked the early morning shift at a distribution center, up at 4:30, home by 2, tired in the specific way that comes not from the work itself, but from doing it alone for 2 years, since Nora's mom had taken the job in Portland. It had been the two of them in a house that echoed. Tom cooked dinner every night, Nora set the table every night. They talked, of course they talked, but sometimes the silence between sentences felt longer than it used to. Nora wasn't a difficult kid. She was quiet, careful, the kind of 13-year-old who finished her homework before anyone asked and kept her room neat without being told. She had 3 close friends at school and 1 journal she wrote in every night before bed. She was fine. That's what she always said when Tom asked. Fine. She was so tired of being fine. The volunteer at the front desk, a woman named Carol with paint-stained fingers and a kind face, didn't sugarcoat it. That one, she said, nodding toward Cage 7, has been returned twice. He's loud, he's dramatic, he treats every piece of furniture like it personally offended him. She paused. He's also the smartest animal I've ever met, but that's not always a selling point. Nora walked to Cage 7. Biscuit was sitting in the back corner with his enormous tail wrapped around his feet, looking at the wall like he had important thoughts about it. When Nora crouched down in front of the cage, he turned his head slowly and looked at her the way royalty looks at someone who has interrupted a private meeting. Not hostile, just deeply unimpressed. "Hi," Nora said. Biscuit blinked once, turned back to the wall. "We'll take him," Nora said. Tom, standing behind her, opened his mouth, closed it, looked at the 16-pound Maine Coon who had just dismissed his daughter like an inconvenient appointment. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Nora said. The first week was exactly what Carol had warned. Biscuit disappeared behind the dryer and did not come out for 2 full days. Tom left a small plate of food near the laundry room, not close, just nearby, and by morning it was always empty. He didn't make a production of it, just refilled the plate. On the 3rd night, Nora sat down on the floor outside the laundry room with her back against the wall and her homework in her lap. She didn't call Biscuit, didn't reach for him, just sat there doing algebra in the hallway like it was a perfectly normal place to study, because for the next 11 nights, it would be. Every night, same spot, same quiet. Biscuit watched from the dark behind the dryer. She could see his eyes sometimes, 2 amber lights in the shadow, tracking her pencil across the page. If you're still watching and haven't subscribed yet, honestly, that stings a little. Hit subscribe. You're gonna wanna see where this goes. On day 12 at 6:47 in the morning, Tom came home from his early shift, sat down at the kitchen table with his coffee, still in his jacket, too tired to take it off. He opened the newspaper out of habit, even though he never finished it. Biscuit walked in from the hallway. He didn't run, didn't chirp, didn't perform any of his usual dramatic entrances. He walked to the kitchen table, looked at Tom for a long, measuring moment, and jumped onto the chair beside him. Not onto his lap, just beside him, close enough that his enormous fluffy tail occasionally drifted across Tom's arm. Tom did not react, did not reach for him, just kept reading the paper. When Nora came downstairs 40 minutes later, her father was asleep at the table, newspaper folded under his elbow, and Biscuit was curled into a perfect circle beside the coffee cup, one massive paw resting on Tom's wrist like he was taking his pulse. Nora took a photo, didn't say anything, just made more coffee. Some moments deserve to be witnessed quietly. After that, things shifted. Not all at once, in the slow, accumulating way that real things change. Biscuit had opinions, and he expressed them constantly. He disapproved of Tom's taste in television and would plant himself directly in front of the screen during anything he found beneath his standards, which was most things. He had claimed the left cushion of the couch as sovereign territory, and if anyone sat there first, he would stand beside them and stare with the quiet intensity of someone who has all the time in the world and none of the patience. They always moved. He also had a system for Nora's mornings. Every day at 6:14 a.m., without fail, he knocked her water bottle off the nightstand. Not the glass, not the lamp, the water bottle, specifically, with precision, like he had studied the geometry of her room and selected the most effective alarm. Nora started waking up before he got there, just to see if she could catch him in the act. She never could. But here is what nobody tells you about a dramatic, difficult, deeply particular 16-pound Maine Coon. They notice everything. The night Nora got a 61 on her history test, the one she'd studied 3 weekends for, the one that mattered, she came home, sat on her bedroom floor, and went very quiet in the way that is worse than crying. Biscuit walked in, looked at her, walked back out. Of course, Nora thought, even the cat. But then he came back, carrying his toy, a small, battered stuffed fish with one fin missing that Nora had bought him in week 2. He dropped it at her feet and sat down, not touching her, just present, close enough to say, "I'm not leaving. I don't know what's wrong, but I'm not leaving." Nora picked up the fish. Biscuit climbed into her lap. That was the first time. Tom noticed too. "He always knows," he said one evening, quietly, like he wasn't sure he believed it, but did anyway. The silences in the house changed after that. They stopped being the waiting kind. Tom left his crossword half finished on the table like an open invitation. Nora started sitting with him before school. Biscuit sat between them, cleaning his face with one enormous paw, completely indifferent to how much he had changed things. He had been returned twice, spent 73 days watching families walk past. He had every reason not to trust, but he chose them anyway, quietly, on his own terms, in his own time. If you've ever taken a chance on something the world said wasn't worth it, you already know what this feels like. And if you haven't yet, maybe Biscuit is your sign. Was it patience that changed him, or did he change them first? Tell me in the comments.